For more news from a Catholic perspective, visit EWTNnews.com. Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams starts now.
This is Women of Grace Live, discussing issues important to your life and faith. Spiritual insight, practical wisdom. Join us as we transform the world one woman at a time. Women of Grace, for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, very happy to be with you today. We love spending this time with you. We certainly do. Monday through Friday, right here on Catholic Radio, brought to you by so many great affiliates in so many cities and towns throughout the United States of America and beyond. We certainly do want to encourage you to support those affiliates. They stay on the air because of you. You make it happen through your donations. And so we do certainly invite you to offer them a donation, to give them a donation. And it's always good for not-for-profit organizations such as these Catholic affiliates are to receive that monthly pledge, because those monthly pledges are what makes that budget available to them, right? You got monthly expenses, and it's lovely to get those big one-time gifts and those small one-time gifts. But if you pledge on a monthly basis, it certainly does help for them to know what they have to work with each and every month, and that it only improves their opportunity to provide you with such good programming. So I always like to give a little thumbs up to all of you who donate to those stations that bring you EWTN Radio, and we certainly do want you to remember EWTN Radio as well. And it doesn't hurt to remember the program providers too. We're all working together at this moment in the history of man to evangelize truth in a world that has been terribly, terribly lulled into either apathy or has been terribly led away through false doctrines and ideologies and teachers who tickle their ears. And we need these clarion voices in the world today that help for us to all follow after the one who is the way, the truth, and the life, our Lord Jesus Christ. So I certainly do invite you to consider all of that as we move forward in our program today. We're here for you. We're live. We love to get your phone calls, your questions and your comments, your insights, your inspirations, your words of encouragement is what makes the program move forward. We've always, we like to throw out a little topic for you to think about, but we take your questions and your comments on any topic at all. We have Ryan Penny call screening for us today. He's available to you. The number for you to use is this one if you are in North America, and by the way, it is toll-free, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That's 833-288-EWTN. We had so many of you calling in yesterday. We weren't able to get to all of your calls. If you didn't get on the air yesterday and you're listening today and you want to make your comment or ask your question, please do call us now, 833-288-EWTN. The sooner you call in, the more likely it is that you're going to get on the air. So we always like to let you know that up front. Please do that. We're also available to you today out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. So we invite you to go out to EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. You can use the chat feature there. Put in your question, your comment, your insight, your inspiration, that word of encouragement that you want to give, and we will get it. Jeff Burson, our producer, is also our social media manager, and he will dash right out there. In my mind, I see him dashing right out there. It's usually just through the controls that he dashes, but he gets there nonetheless. And he'll get your comment up on the board, and we'll be able to address it. Well, I'll tell you what. Guess what today is? It's Thursday. We're going to be talking about why this is such an important day, I think, in the life of the church. But first, it's Thursday, which means that tomorrow is Friday, which means that our online fall retreat, our Women of Grace online fall retreat, Open the Eyes of Your Heart, the Transformative Power of Prayer, will begin. And it's going to begin tomorrow evening. We've got all of the information for you out there on our website. I am truly inviting you to join us for this beautiful, beautiful event. It's a virtual, event, which means that we can just stack up lots of people. And we certainly do want you to hear the beautiful talks that are going to be given by such a great roster of speakers. We've got Father Peter John Cameron with us, Susan Tassoni is with us, Thomas K. Sullivan is with us, Susan Potvin is with us, Susan Brinkman is with us, Kathleen Beckman is with us, and yours truly is going to be there too. And we're all going to be giving beautiful talks. topics. I want to let you know that the entirety of the schedule is available for you right there online. If you go to womenofgrace.com, click on that first slideshow, it takes you to the landing page. You can also read all of the bios of the speakers there. You can see what their topics are. You can see when they're presenting. It's all there for you. And I am so looking forward to it. You know, prayer is so very important. We need prayer more than ever now. We need all kinds of prayer, prayer of intercession, prayer of petition, prayer of praise. We need contemplative prayer so that we might draw closer to our Lord Jesus Christ. We need to know how to pray the rosary with vigor and with efficacy. All of that is going to be discussed in this beautiful, beautiful online retreat available to you beginning tomorrow night. So we want you to get out there. Register, sign up. Don't sit on the fence any longer. It's time to make good on your good intention to join us for this beautiful event. Do want to let you know, too, that for those of you that have already signed up and those of you that are considering it, today we are going to be sending out your online virtual goodie bag. We always provide for these virtual events an online goodie bag for you, and it contains all kinds of really neat stuff, and it's something that I think is going to really enhance your life of faith as well as your life of prayer. So, don't delay. Sign up. If you've signed up already, that virtual goodie bag is coming to you. And if you sign up today and tomorrow, of course, you're going to get your virtual goodie bag too. And I want to let you know that in there are some materials that will be helpful for you. You know, we've got the schedule in there and all of that good stuff. But additionally, we have the lyrics to the songs that we're going to be singing. Susan Potvin is going to be leading us in music and in praise of the Lord through this music. She is a tremendous worship leader. We love Susan Potvin, and I am so happy she's going to be with us. She's also going to be talking with us about the beautiful way in which we experience, this abundance of God's grace through praise. And she's going to be taking us into the history of praise in the life of the church, as well as the history of praise from our Jewish roots, right? From the heritage that we have there. So I know that you're going to really, really be thrilled to hear, all kinds of good things. Father Peter John Cameron is going to be talking about what prayer is and why we need it, but he's also going to be talking about the problems we face in prayer and how to overcome them. That is a very important thing to know, right? Because, sometimes we hit a bump in the road in our life of prayer. We go into the desert for a little while, or it just seems like, our prayers, those clanging gongs and clashing cymbals that St. Paul talks about in Corinthians. But and we don't know what that means. Well, Father's going to clear up the mystery for us. He's going to help us to understand all of these movements in our life of prayer and what it is that we do when we face these difficulties. And, sometimes those difficulties are really signaling something tremendous for us. Susan Brinkman is going to be talking with us about the transformative power of contemplative prayer. Susan is a great teacher, and I know that you're going to come away enriched from that. We're seeking peace, we're seeking wisdom, but we're seeking for it sometimes in all of the wrong places. We're seeking it from what the world tells us, but here we're going to find out what the true way is, right? And we're going to seek to invest our time in that. She's actually going to lead us through some prayer exercises, which I think is going to be fantastic. Susan Tassoni is going to be talking about praying for our dearly departed loved ones, the holy souls. I'm going to be talking about the transformative power of prayer in my own life, as well as intercessory prayer. Kathleen Beckman, the transformative power of healing and deliverance prayer, and Thomas K. Sullivan is going to be talking with us about the prayer of the rosary. It's going to be fabulous. Sign up right there at womenofgrace.com. More to come on the other side of the break. 833-288-EWTN. We're coming right back. Stay tuned.
Would you like to become a saint? Well, that's great because only saints go to heaven. Oh, but I'm no saint, you say? Think of it this way. A saint is a sinner striving for sanctity who sometimes stumbles and picks himself up by the grace of God and continues the struggle on the royal road of the cross. Mother Church's powerhouse saints and future saints will show us the way on The Good Fight, Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Hello, family. Our world has been turned upside down by the coronavirus pandemic. Concern for our loved ones, economic uncertainty, and of course, social distancing. It's easy to understand why there's such great anxiety and fear in the world. I'm convinced that God is using this moment to bring us closer to Him and to strip away the distractions of our normal daily lives, and that He is calling us to place our trust in Him. In this difficult moment, EWTN is a great spiritual resource that can help you, your family, and friends make sense of the chaos. Of course, EWTN is where you can turn for Mass every day. In addition to our television and radio channels, you can also find the Mass, live Eucharistic adoration, the Rosary, and other devotions on our web and video on-demand platforms. And of course, EWTN News will continue to provide you with the latest updates on the pandemic, as well as other current events around the world from a Catholic perspective. Please know that we're praying for you, and let's also join together in prayer for our EWTN family around the world. Thank you, and may God bless you.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Have you ever been so grief-stricken and so heart-sick that you can't see God? You can't see God in the tragedy. You can't see God in that cross. You can't see God in that sin. Why? You're enveloped in that grief. You're enveloped in fear. And God is out the window. You don't see Him standing right next to you.
EWTN. Live truth. Live
Transforming the world one woman at a time. Let's return to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Well, welcome back after the break there, friends. We're inviting you to join us today. Let me give you that number to call. We have Ryan Penny on the phones. He's eager to hear from you. Give him that big old howdy hey. Let him know that, well, you're happy that he's there today. I also want to let you know that if you tell him that you are a first-time caller, I will ring my first-time caller bell for you that welcomes you as a first-time caller, and I love to ring the bell. I'm just telling you. It brings joy to my little old heart to ring that bell, so I certainly do hope you give me a good occasion to ring it today. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Just pick up that phone and give us a call. We are here for you. Also wanted to mention to you, in addition to the fact that our beautiful online Women of Grace retreat begins tomorrow evening, and we want you to join us, and you can register right online. Make it easy for you. Just go out to womenofgrace.com. First slideshow, click, takes you to the landing page, gives you all of the information, including the schedule, and additionally, what? Additionally, it will permit you to register right there. And that's what we want you to do. So join us there. But today's another big day for another great reason. It's the feast day of St. John Paul II. And we love St. John Paul II. We certainly do. Transformative person in our lives. One of the longest pontificate on record. And so many of us really grew up with him. And as we well know, he was a very clear, unambiguous teacher of the faith, and we need that, and we appreciate him so much. It's a good day to ask for his intercession, and I'm very eager to hear your favorite St. John Paul story, or why it is that you loved him and still love him so very much. So give us a call, tell us about that or anything else on your mind. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Also inviting you to go out to EWTN's YouTube channel, and you can use the chat feature there to get your questions and comments up. Jeff Burson will go out and get them for us, and he'll put them up on the board. We've got Dave with us in Rochester, New York, and then we're going to go to Teresa, and we want to be with you too. Dave, good morning to you. You're listening via Station of the Cross, and thank you so much, Dave. I'm very thrilled by you already because you're a first-time caller, and I get to ring my bell. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Johnnette.
You're welcome.
We actually, my wife and I went to a Right to Life dinner a few years ago, and you were a speaker there. So it was, yes. A few years ago on the radio station, the Catholic radio station that we're listening to right now, there was a document that was read that had to be read by the Supreme Court of the country in order to make a decision on some abortion issue. And when they started reading it, I mean, it was horrendous. How it went through the procedure of how an abortion happens. And it was just an horrendous thing. and I can understand why they needed it because they had to vote on something. I don't remember how the issue was or how it turned out, but it was just an awful document. And I thought if someone on the Catholic radio station like yourself or could read that, could get a hold of that document and read it and see if it might be appropriate to read over the air, it could change people's feeling about abortion. That was my comment.
Well, Dave, thank you very much. Unfortunately, I probably don't know what document you're referring to. We certainly can try to find that, but you don't remember who it was that delivered it, do you? That's what you were saying to me, right?
You mean over the air?
Yeah. You don't remember?
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
What was that?
Yeah, and I mean, you give us occasion, of course, to talk a little bit about this. And I'm glad that you are doing so. And today's a very important day because the Senate is going to vote on Amy Coney Barrett, who we watched the proceedings and the hearings that she went through, and we don't really know how Amy Coney Barrett or anyone else would look at the Roe v. Wade situation, and she didn't reveal that, and rightly so. But what we do know is this. We know that abortion has been a terrible scourge on our land, and we know that the blood of these innocent children cry out for justice. And I have to say this, there's a reluctance to talk about abortion in a broad sense through the airwaves. Certainly never to consider the other side of this issue outside of the women who claim that it's their right to have an abortion. Never want to look at this from the perspective of the child in the womb. And one of the reasons why, or that is stated that, we ought to remain hush-hush, even from the pulpits in our Catholic churches, is because we don't want to offend or hurt any woman who has had an abortion. Well, the ridiculous reality of that statement is that many of these women would long to hear a word because then it justifies the grief and the terrible interior pain that so many of them suffer from because of the decision they made. And so because we remain silent on it, there is no way for them to actually be able to grieve, to accept the reality that this wasn't right. And my emotions regarding this, the sensitivity of my heart and the sadness that I carry with me and the grief that I carry over my decisions, my decision is valid. And they need that validation so they can begin the process of healing and restoration. As to this whole issue that it's a woman's right, she has a right to her body. Number one, first of all, we don't really have a right to our body because our body doesn't belong to us. Our body was created by God. Right? And we are here at his express love for us and his express desire that we know his love. So our bodies, because we didn't create them, we didn't manufacture them, our bodies are not our own. Our bodies, as we've been taught in our catechism, is a temple of the Holy Spirit. Our bodies belong to God. It enables us to be able to experience the profound measure of his great glory and the love that he has for us. So first of all, that's a fallacious statement in that regard. Second of all, we have a right to our own body. Okay, if we look at that, even if we believe that it is our body in that sense, even if we look at it that way, it isn't our body that women are taking out of existence. It's not their body. It's the body of a separate human person who is growing within them. And so it isn't their body at all. They're not aborting themselves. They're aborting the child, a separate human person who is growing inside of their womb. And so that's a fallacious argument to be made. Thirdly, a woman should govern herself and make decisions regarding every aspect of her being, her body and her soul, according to the will of the Father. And there is no mandate that a woman must find herself in a position that she has, become pregnant out of wedlock or an unwanted pregnancy, except in the case of a rape where there's been a violation against her. But even in that situation, we go back to the premise that this is the life of a separate person, and every life that is conceived by the will of God. And so this child has a right to life. And that's where we get the whole phraseology of a right to life, that it's the right to the life of the child. That child has a right to the life that God has given to it. And so we have this opportunity, I think, to speak broadly on this, and I think that we ought to. And I think that we need to pray for our Supreme Court. We need to pray for the decisions of this country. We need to pray for a right-mindedness, and by that I mean a mindedness that is informed by the scriptures and the Ten Commandments of God. And there is no justification whatsoever for an abortion. And I think that I'll stand on that one. And I think that when we go to the voting booths, which, are just, what is it, 12 days away at this point, we have to vote in accordance with the mind and the heart of God. I think that one of the reasons why we see this terrible disregard for life at this moment, why we see people that have no moral basis, is because at the very essential reality of the value of life, we have stood in opposition as a nation through our laws and through the way in which we have governed ourselves. And I have heard it said, and I don't necessarily disagree, that when we look at where we are and where some of our major cities are, especially the city of New York, and the ability for a woman to have an abortion, to kill her baby through all 9 months of pregnancy, to me, it's no wonder that we're seeing a decimation of one of the greatest cities in the United States of America. I think that we really have got to get our minds around this, and we've got to pray and beg God to have mercy on us as a nation. So there you go, Dave. I don't know what that document was, but now you just heard a whole litany coming from me.
Well, thank you, Johnnette. And I know when I heard it, the word abortion is so kind of ingrained in our everyday, day-to-day living for a long time now. But when I heard this thing, I heard this document read over. They didn't read the whole thing, but part of it was incredible. It might, if somebody heard that it might be pro-choice, but they might change their mind because of how this just kind of sets the tone of what really happens to a baby. And it was a horrendous document. But I can understand the Supreme Court needing to have it in order to make a decision, and I'm sure they're going to make decisions according to the Constitution and the law and whenever they have to make a decision about anything. And anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. And
well, thanks, Dave.
Sure, Johnnette.
Well, I certainly do appreciate it. And I remember that Right to Life dinner in Rochester. If I remember correctly, it was in the dead of winter and it snowed.
Yeah, so it was, yep. My wife said she's up.
Yep, and I remember walking through Rochester with those beautiful snowflakes falling down. They were great big, and they were beautiful. They were just so, just the perfect kind of a snow. It was thrilling because I was living in Florida at that time, and so to see snow like that was really a treat for me.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep, it was a beautiful night. Yep. Yeah, we try to listen to your show, and we enjoy it very much.
Thank you, Dave. Well, keep praying for all of us, right? We appreciate it. We're always praying for all of you. Well, God bless you, good man of God. We appreciate it. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That is the way that you can join us live here on Women of Grace Live, where we love having that holy conversation with you. If you're outside of North America, country code 1-205-271-2985. Country code 1-205-271-2985. We are going to go to Teresa. She's in Homer, New York today. Sirius XM 130 is the way she's joining us. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning, Johnnette. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're quite welcome. My joy.
My son is 15 years old. He was just confirmed August 29th. And this morning he was so upset. He said, Mom, I'm embarrassed to death to be Catholic. I know that what Pope Francis said about the gays is wrong, and I have friends asking me questions. It's so embarrassing. I feel like one thing after another keeps happening. He goes, and I know we're in the one true church, but why is this happening? Is he really our Pope? And it was like, it's been killing me all morning.
Yeah, Teresa.
He's 15. He's pro-life. He's not in any trouble yet, thanks be to God. He's trying to stay strong in our faith, and it's like this kind of stuff just, I said, Michael, the church will never err in its teachings. The only thing I can say to you is this is not part of the church teachings, and perhaps he's not even our Pope. I don't know what else to say. I said, I need to think about it.
Yeah. Well, Teresa, let's talk a little bit about this. I think that one of the sad realities that we've had since Pope Francis has become our Holy Father is the fact that many of his statements are ambiguous. A lot of his statements are taken out of context, and as a result of that, there's an effort on the other side of the comments being made or the false translation being given that causes people to come behind him and strive to clean up what it is that he said, or to make clear as well what it is that he said. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at this particular statement that he made, the fact of the matter is, he was speaking in Spanish. The translation that came across was not really the best translation. If you go out to EWTN's app, if you have downloaded that, I would encourage you to go to Audio on Demand and to listen to Morning Glory this morning, because on Morning Glory, they addressed this issue, and they talked about a translation that was given by Father Agostino, who is one of the friars of the Renewal, the religious order that was started by by Father Benedict Rochelle, and and he talked about the fact that the way that was translated is not precisely what the Holy Father said. When he said what he was talking about was that individuals who have same-sex attraction have a right to being members of a family. In other words, they are members of a family. They're members of the family of the church. They're members of their nuclear family. And he was encouraging parents not to shun those children, but to keep the lines of communication open with those children and to love those children, because our call is to love. He did not say they had a right to a family, to have their own family. And he stood against adoption by gay couples. So he was not saying they have a right to have a family. He was saying they have a right to the family of their origin. The other thing was that he wasn't talking. He didn't. The accurate translation that was given by Father Agostino it said that it wasn't about a civil union, that they had a right to civil unions, but they had a right to be protected by civil law, which is a whole nother matter. And everybody has a right to be protected by civil law. So I think that, once again, poor translation, statements being taken out of context. I do believe the Holy Father said that he was on a plane when he was asked a question, he made the response, and then he was disturbed by the way it came across. But of course, in this documentary, they're excerpting from that fuller statement what it is that they wanted to convey. So I think it's important for us to hold back a little bit, not rush to judgment here, but to give some room for a better explanation. And it is true. I think the Holy Father now has to clarify what it was that he was saying. The other thing is, this is not official teaching. This is not ex cathedra. This is a statement that is made, and maybe it's embroidered with the Holy Father's own opinion as opposed to, firm teaching. The teaching of the church hasn't changed. The teaching of the church cannot change, as you told your son rightly. And we're always going to find those that are trying to undermine great reality. So we want to hold on that. And if you want to talk about it more, I'm going to invite you to stay on. We're going to go to a break here, and we've got to get out really soon. We want to hear from you, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We're going to be taking your calls on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
Raymond Arroyo, Dr. David Anders, Father Mitch Pacwa. The leading Catholic voices are on the largest Catholic media network in the world. You're listening to the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Father Benedict Rochelle.
I must tell you,
that from what I observe from very young people, all of these blasphemers, all of these mockers are in for a tough time. Because the devil bites his own tail. And I find among young people a growing reverence and longing for God. I find a decline in the cynicism and skepticism around, because it had to destroy itself. No one can live on being an enemy of God. It's too crazy. It's too absurd. It's too dark. It's too bleak. God is beautiful. God is holy. Why in the world mock God?
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
Are you prepared to vote?
Citizens have a co-responsibility for society. This duty especially obliges those in a democracy who must elect representatives to run the state on their behalf.
Learn more so you're prepared when you vote this November. Visit EWTN.com/vote for everything Catholic voters need to know before picking up a ballot.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, 2 hours of open forum with Jimmy Aiken. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Women of Grace.
Encouraging women in their gift of authentic femininity. Here's more Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Welcome back, friends. You are listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams. We are delighted to have you here today. Eager to hear from you. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Just pick up the phone, give us a call. We'll have some holy conversation together, hopefully clear up some misconceptions. Who knows? We'll see where the Holy Spirit takes it. Mention to you that today is the feast day of St. John Paul II, and inviting you to call in and tell us, what it is that you love so much about John Paul II, or how he impacted your life. We'd love to hear from you on that, and on anything else you want to talk about. So Teresa was with us. She's in Homer, New York. Sirius XM 130 is the way she's been listening. Concerned about her 15-year-old son who was recently confirmed. A good kid. Not only a good kid, a good Catholic who is very well versed in the teachings of the church, is a right-to-life person, very concerned about the statements that the press is reporting that Pope Francis said regarding same-sex unions. And so we're trying to clear up some of those misconceptions. I shared with Teresa that he wasn't talking about civil union. He was talking about a civil law of coexistence. And he was encouraging parents not to isolate their children if they have same-sex attraction, but rather to love them. And that was the true essence of what he meant when he said they have a right to a family. He wasn't saying they have a right to adopt. He has spoken against that on many occasions. And he wasn't implicitly saying that it's okay to practice the deviant behavior of the homosexual lifestyle. He was not saying that either. So Teresa, I don't know if that helps, but once again, here we are cleaning up a semi-ambiguous statement.
It does help. I'm going to listen to the show, Morning Glory. I hadn't listened to it this morning, and I could tell my son still wanted to talk to me about it, but he's doing distance learning, and another class was starting for him, so yeah. I'm going to make sure that we talk about it more. And I'm just like, and he said it's embarrassing that Joe Biden Catholic, Nancy Pelosi Catholic, all these people.
Oh, I couldn't. I 100% agree with him.
Embarrassed.
It's embarrassing.
I'm embarrassed, and I'm like. And he said, I know it's the true church, Mom, but I'm wondering what is going on, Yeah. So I will have another talk with him when he has, like, his quote-unquote lunch, and I can sit and we can talk about it more.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome, and I would recommend that you play the clip for him so that he can get that into his mind. As far as Pelosi and Biden go, I think, it troubles me deeply when people that are in public positions support and openly, tout their Catholic faith, and then support positions that are in such grave opposition to the Catholic Church. I don't know how you can say I'm Catholic and be a pro-abort. I just don't know how you can say that. I don't know how you reconcile that. I don't know how you rationalize it. I don't know how you can promote it and approve of it through all 9 months right now, which is what is part of Joe Biden's platform. And I can say that on the air because why not? It's part of his platform. He's openly admitted it. He's openly stated it. And that's what Pelosi wants too. The fact of the matter is, because you call yourself a Catholic doesn't mean that your heart is a Catholic heart. It doesn't mean that your mind is informed by Catholic teaching. It doesn't mean that your will is governed by sacred scripture and what Holy Mother Church teaches us. So, we've always got to make that distinction too, because there's a lot of people that are nefarious Catholics out there and think that just because I go to Mass on Sunday, I'm fulfilling my duty and obligation, and that makes me Catholic. It does not make you Catholic. It makes you somebody that goes to Mass on Sunday. But to be Catholic is to be Catholic in your perspective, and down to the. It means that it means that the dogma lives in you. That's what it means. Teresa, thank you so much, and God bless you. We're going to get to Joan. She is listening to us via EWTN.com. And Joan, I think, is with us from Illinois. Let me just see what's going on here. I've got a little computer issue going on here, and we're going to get that straightened out. She is in Streator, Illinois. Good morning, Joan. How do you say the name of your city? Streator. Okay, very good. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you with us.
Well, thank you. My question is, I just wonder why it's never been, well, maybe it has, been brought to light to the Supreme Court on why is it murder if someone else murders a baby in a pregnant woman, but not if the woman, has an abortion. Like I was just reading about the Scott Peterson. He murdered his pregnant wife, and it says he was convicted of first-degree murder for her death and second-degree murder for the death of their prenatal son. So how can the Supreme Court have it both ways? It's either
Joan,
murder or it's not.
Yeah, you know what? I couldn't, again, I'm going to say I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's the schizophrenic perspective that we have in our culture today. That if the child is a wanted child, it's a baby. And if you don't want that pregnancy, it's not a baby. As if the reality of babyhood depends upon your feeling, your emotion, or your personal interest in the child that you're carrying. And it's ridiculous. And this is the point. And it's the same way too. If there's an automobile accident and a person who is killed in an automobile accident is a pregnant woman, then it's a manslaughter charge for two people. So it makes absolutely no sense. It's the inconsistency that we're living with. And it's no wonder, on some level, it's almost no wonder that people are so frustrated that they act in crazy ways. And we see a culture that is crazy. We see a culture that is totally off kilter. And if I just might go on for one more moment, I think that it all falls under this category of relativism. We want to believe what we want to believe when it suits us, and that there is no objective truth and there is no objective morality, no objective way of looking at situations and circumstances that guides us and directs us. And that's just a lie. Law is law. God's law is God's law, and man's law is meant to flow forth from God's law. And that's the reality of it. And people say, well, why is our country in this situation? Well, here's the thing. God does not abandon us. He never abandons us. We can be the most depraved of people. We can be, heinous criminals. We can have committed every capital sin, every mortal sin available. God continues to love us. He is always there. But what happens is when we choose against him, we move ourselves outside of that mantle of protection, that mantle of blessing that he wants us to know. We reject him. He never rejects us. And our nation, through its laws, has rejected God. And this is why I do believe that we have got to look at this upcoming election through the eyes of faith. And as Michael Warsaw wrote recently, just an absolutely fabulous article in National Catholic Register. It's out there for you to read. He says, we're not voting for a person. We're voting for a vision. And we've got to get that straight as Catholics. We will be held accountable for the way in which we vote. We will be held accountable.
Wow. Okay, thank you, Johnnette.
So I support you, Joan. There you go. God bless you, good woman of God. Thank you for your call today. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Oh, God bless you. Let's go to Agnes. Agnes is in Buffalo, New York. Station of the Cross is the way she's joined us. Always happy to hear from the good people up in Buffalo through Station of the Cross. How are you, Agnes?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay, I'm calling with regard to Dave from Rochester.
Oh, yes.
I believe I may know what he is referring to.
Okay.
It was a while back, some years ago, given by Father John Ricardo.
Okay.
And it was with regard to the Supreme Court decision on partial birth abortion.
Okay.
I don't know the case. And he read from their, I believe it was a decision itself, supporting material, and he read about the actual process, which of course is gruesome and horrible. And it's very powerful to hear it, the actual words in the process, what's involved.
Mm-hmm.
So any other more information? I know on our station, the Station of the Cross, we used to have at 10 o'clock weekday mornings, one day Father Ricardo's talks were on. And I believe that's where it was from. And it just was so powerful. And at a time when the Catholic vote is so crucial in a close election, the information is very important. If there's any way to get that information actually out there so that people actually realize what they're voting for,
right.
I think it would be helpful. You know,
I couldn't agree
certainly
with you more.
we pray a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I don't know if this information is useful or is it enough information to, locate the exact statements. But I thought I would call in.
Well, I am so glad that you did. And so what I would encourage everybody to do is to do a search under Father John Ricardo, partial birth abortion, and see what comes up there. And, the interesting thing is that, whenever it has come before the Supreme Court regarding anything about abortion, and people want to describe the process or show pictures, it's not permitted. And I think it's not permitted because it's so horrible and it's so heinous what happens to these children that people, their sensibilities would be offended, and it would absolutely turn a pro-abort in the opposite direction. So they won't permit any kind of discussion about the procedure itself or show any kind of pictures regarding it because it's just too much for people to bear. So if you got to think about that, if the description of itself verbally and the images of it are so brutal and so upsetting, then there's a reason why we ought to be paying very close attention to these kinds of issues, right? Because the images and the description, they speak the truth of what's going on there. And I can't imagine that anybody in there with any kind of empathy would say that this is a valid procedure or this is valid action. But thank you very much for that,
Yes,
Agnes. I sure do.
Well, thank you for all that you do.
EWTN. This
is
Open
Line. Do fully come phone. Your question, your comment, your insight, your word of encouragement for us. So we look forward to having you do just that. It is true that we're living in a very important time, and each one of us, I think, has been chosen by God for this moment. And we need to be very strong and very steadfast and very firm in applying the teachings of the church and sacred scripture to our public lives. And we need to be those kinds of individuals who, demonstrate a real courage. We've been hearing all kinds of things in the news about why people don't want to put signs for one of the candidates in their yards, and, that a lot of people will not admit who it is they're truly going to vote for because they don't want to experience the disdain of their neighbors or even possible threats or action against them as individuals. This is not the way that we conduct ourselves as people. This is not the way in which it's supposed to be. We are called to live civilly, to respect each other, to value life. And I think that this is, as I was saying, I think that because we've been under the scourge of abortion for all of these years, we've become very callous. And these kinds of ways of living, these kinds of ways of action, these kinds of ways of making laws and enforcing laws, all of these things have an effect. They color our attitude. And I think that if you go back, since the abortion has become part of our nation's fabric, you can see a lack of civility, and by that even mean a lack of courtesy among people. It astounds me how courtesy is often just eliminated from our social behavior and words. The guttural ways in which we speak, showing a true lack of integrity of the human person. And this can change. But it's not going to change if you and I are not living according to the will of God. And it's not going to change if you and I are not trying to do the best that we possibly can to influence the public square and the culture of the day. We can't throw our hands in the air and say, there's nothing I can do about it. There's everything you can do about it. It says in Revelation that they were saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. By the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. Well, we speak words, but our actions speak words as well. So we're going to go to Frances. She's out there in San Antonio, Texas, one of my favorite cities. She's with us via YouTube today. And what's going on with you, Frances?
Hi, Johnnette. How are you? I'm kind of worried because I don't see how the government is more with the priests are more in telling people, the priests in church and mass, why aren't they more worried about pro-life than abortion? It's like, I think that the priests should talk in church, hey, that we only have two parties, and in the Catechism 2242, it says how the church can intervene in the government, not the other way around. We can get involved in the church. Why don't they talk more about abortion instead of immigration?
Well, Frances, there's a question, and that's a good question. And I think that what's happened here is that we have conflated a lot of issues, and we've put them, on a level hierarchy of value, which is kind of like an oxymoron because hierarchy implies that there are levels of importance. But they've flattened that reality. So they've taken the hierarchy of values and they've made it a kind of a linear thing where all things are equal. And I couldn't, again, I've been using this phrase all day. I couldn't agree with you more. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that, just as I said, that we as Catholics are going to be held accountable for the way in which we cast our ballot. Are we promoting life? And I'm not talking about parties here. I'm talking about issues. Are we promoting life? The key issue, fundamental issue. Everything else hinges on that one. Are we voting in accordance with the non-negotiables that Holy Mother Church has given to us? We're going to be held accountable for that, but so are our priests. They're going to be held accountable individually for the way in which they cast their vote, but they're also going to be held accountable for missed opportunities to inform their flock. And this worries me. And I think that we need to be praying for our priests even now. We need to be doing reparation for our priests even now, because they will be held accountable if they have not taken advantage of their opportunity as shepherd to teach their people right from wrong. and to rather under some kind of a guise of I don't want to offend anybody, or under some kind of a fear that people are going to leave the parish and they're not going to be able to sustain it. I don't care what interferes with this. With this duty, responsibility, and loving action of preaching truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and not leaving these things open to misconception, ambiguity, or in some way to contribute to an unformed conscience or an ill-formed conscience, or to some ignorant, invincibility. No, that is not the way it should be. So I don't know why. We've got to pray for them to be strong and courageous men of God, and to use those graces of holy orders to make them fearless. To make them, be willing to lose their lives for the sake of Holy Mother Church, who is their bride, as they are in persona Christi. And we've got to be praying for that ourselves, Francis. Because sometimes, it's very tempting, and I'll bet you we've all done it. We will cower in a public setting from speaking the truth because of human respect. But here's the fact of the matter. God's going to say that was a missed opportunity. So we better be repairing our missed opportunities at the same time. What do you think?
Okay, very good. Can I ask you one last question?
Sure.
What is the plain root problem of Planned Parenthood here in Babcock, San Antonio, Texas? Why? I mean, there's places, things that I buy from Mill Landscape places that go work for them, give them services. Planned Parenthood here in San Antonio, Texas, is evil. They kill babies there. What do you think is the main root problem of that?
Well, Francis, it's very simple. First of all, Planned Parenthood is a sinful organization. Period. It's not just that that applies to the one in San Antonio. It applies wholesalely and across the board for all of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger, their founder, was a eugenicist. She wanted to wipe out certain populations of individuals, feeling that they were inferior to other populations of people. And she set about doing that. She set about trying to get rid of blacks. She set about trying to get rid of immigrants. And she tried to get rid of Jews. And she began her birth control leagues in areas where these people were areas that were populated by these populations. And that plan hasn't changed. You look at where Planned Parenthoods are located now, and they're located in barrios. They're located in black communities. They're located in places that ascribe to that same eugenicist idea. Now, I understand that recently Planned Parenthood has tried to remove itself from its eugenic roots, but that's the root. And so now, obviously, what they've become is a major corporation that makes millions and millions and millions of dollars killing babies in the wombs of their mothers. And so they're trading on flesh and blood. And we know that. We know that to be a fact. We know it from the people who have come out of Planned Parenthood, like Abby Johnson. We know what their goal is. It's not hidden. It's there. And yet we continue to hear certain pundits, and we continue to hear certain political people talking about what a great organization this is, and wanting to give even more money to Planned Parenthood through taxation, which already our taxes are paying for Planned Parenthood. And this is abhorrent. This is absolutely abhorrent. So to answer your question, I think that that's the root cause of it all. So there you have it, dear lady. And thank you for your call today. And I'm sorry we can't get to the rest of you. Again, we're going to be back with you tomorrow. We'll have these phone lines open. We're willing to take your calls. So we're inviting you to join us. And I'm inviting you to sign up, register, and be with us as we talk about opening the eyes of your heart, the transforming power of prayer at our Women of Grace online fall retreat. It starts tomorrow night, runs through Saturday, healing service Saturday night. You're going to get a virtual goodie bag. And oh my goodness, you are going to grow in your faith exponentially. Can guarantee it. Great speakers, and I think the Holy Spirit will be there. God bless all of you. It's been great being with you. Pray for us. We're always praying for you. You're in my rosary. Please put me in yours. God bless. Bye-bye now.